Alright, so this is a little video about the capacitors. They were by far the hardest thing that I have been making from this whole cache thing, at least in the sense that it's so soft when the paste is still soft that you can't wrap your coils around it. So what I've done is I've made these 5 coils here, and I'm going to make 5 more, or at least 4 more. I'm probably going to use 4 of these. And what I've got here is the wires for the negative side, and I've got some wires for the positive side. These are longer because I'm going to wrap them. These capacitors are going to be bigger than these. I made these small ones. I'm going to make a couple of bigger ones now. And I've got my paste. You've seen that in the previous videos. This one is thicker. I want to really get this paste. You see, this one is nice and thick. Right, so I can really roll better without the paper getting too moist. And I've got the baking paper. This is oven paper. I cut 4 almost identical pieces so I can roll them around the coil. And I got one more thing. Which is this jewelry maker's bar. I once used to make jewelry, and I got this set with all these different sizes of these bars. And this one is perfect because when I wrap my magnetic one, the long wire around it, which is the one that's going around the coil, it still fits in with coil and all. It fits into these shrink tubes here. So that's what you want to look for. You want to look for this size with the nano-coated wire on top wrapped around. You want to make sure it fits into this shrink tube, so that when you heat up the shrink tube, it tightens up like these guys have. You know, that holds it all nice together. It still leaves some air here, some space for breathing, so it could dry out further. But I left these guys from yesterday overnight without the shrink tube on, so they can dry. But I'll show you now how to make another one of these, so that you can do the same thing with your GaNs paste and all the equipment you see here. So basically I've wrapped this nano-coated wire around my bar. You could actually turn this twisted end on the other side. I don't know if it has any effect, but probably not. And then you can slip this out, and then you can stretch it out so that you can have it the way you want. Let me just use this a little bit. You don't want to damage the wire as much, but you want to stretch it out a little bit like that. So that will be the length. And then if your paper should be the same length, so it goes around like that. Right, this is going to go inside, but you want this to be as long or a little bit longer, so it slides in later, right? Basically later when you have this thing rolled, you want this to be going in there, right? Alright, so I've wrapped the 4 capacitor magnetic sides, so the outer coils. I used a 7.5 millimeter bar, and I did put some tape, some electrical tape on my pliers to make sure that when I use my pliers I didn't scratch the coils too much. If you do scratch them, you could always do another caustic coating on them, you know, do one more treatment and get all those copper ends, you know, nice and tidy. But basically, if you look at this, you know, it's got maybe a little scratch here and there, only on that end. I don't think it's going to be a problem, but so that's the end product. This is the heat shrink tube I use, and that's why I use 7.5 millimeter. This bar here, 7.5 millimeter, because if you look at these shrink tubes, these are 12.7, so that in the end, when I have my my gravitational wire in here, nano-coated wire with my GaNs on it, I still want this entire structure to go into my tube. And you see this one fits nice. And then when you heat it up, it shrinks really nice. It actually is, you know, tight. It's really nice. So if you can find it, this one is a Garden Bender heat shrink 12.7 millimeters. Right? Polyolefin heat shrink tube. Alright, so now I'm going to start doing the other parts. Okay, so now my coils are, my capacitors are ready. Basically I've just done these with my paste, my GaNs paste. They're in there, they're nice, I like it. Especially like it when you leave longer ends. If you leave the paper to be a bit longer, let's say you take a piece of paper, but you take it and leave the end to stick out a bit, then you can push this in over the head, and you can push this one in at the bottom. I like that very much. That seals off the gravitational incoming negative line from being able to touch the magnetic outside coil. So those are these. What I do, I already put a little bend in these like this. That knows this is negative. You can see a little bend like that makes it the negative, which is my gravitational end. And I do that to make sure that later when I put my shrink tube around it, that I don't mistake later any of the points, the gravitational from the magnetic points. Right, like that. So, and then you end up with these. These are a little bit shorter gravitational beginning, but you can see here, negative side over here. And then I know my coil is coming out. You can still see it through here, that this is the one that's magnetic, but you know, just as an extra precaution, you could do that. I made 5 last time because I played around a bit. In the beginning I had to experiment a bit because I made these 2. This definitely didn't work, trying to wrap it around it while it was wet. And this guy wasn't that nice either, so I left that guy out as well. Then once I had these 2 done, I had enough experience to get it done properly. I made these 5 here, and now I made these 4 here with just a bit longer wire. So now I'm going to leave them out for a couple of hours to dry out. Just air dry like this in the air conditioner.